At Bianchi Honda, we want to exceed your expectations for customer service. From our gorgeous showroom and accommodating staff to our extraordinary selection of Honda vehicles and industry-leading service department. Your vehicle should be the best choice for you, and you can find it here at Bianchi Honda. I'm Jason Perico, and I promise to always make it worth a visit.
Time now for the Gannon Golden Knights Coaches Show. Brad Rzyczycki joining here in studio. Brad, last weekend it was IUP coming off what we called, I would say, a productive performance against Cal. Then you go in against IUP, not so productive. The score not in your favor. How did that game go? Is IUP that much better than Cal? What were the conditions that day?
Well, I think there were different circumstances to this game. You know, I'll give a lot of credit to the quarterback. He's the best offensive player we've faced in this league, and he did a lot of things to make them really good. Even when he was handing the ball off. But the first QB draw, you know, we'd done some things that we were worried about him just pulling the ball off the zone read stuff. But the QB draw was a little bit new, and he got loose on our guys. And just how he managed the game from there. There were good things on film, believe it or not. You know, we self-destructed a little bit. Some of that was our fault, the snap over the head, the procedure penalties, the different things that we did during the course of the game. We turned the ball over in the red zone twice again, which we did at Cal. So we did some things that hurt ourselves, but you got to give a lot of credit to IUP, too. They came in and played one heck of a game against us, and they big played us. You know, it is what it is. I could sit there and I say there's a ton of things that we did wrong, but sometimes you got to give some credit to the other team. I mean, they're a good ball club. There's a reason why they're ranked in the country, and they're playing really well now, and they have a really good quarterback. And they showed up on Saturday. You know, we're still young, and we still make mistakes, and we've learned from last Saturday, but we can show up and play like we did at Cal. But some things got exploited on Saturday that, you know, we just have to learn and make the corrections from.
The good news is you're going to see Cal and IUP every year. So I think that what we're setting up for here, and this is the radio person in me, you won't say this. I think what we're setting up for is a huge victory against these teams next year, 2 years from now. So it's going to be exciting to watch. You mentioned they're young. I'm excited because they will mold into a team, and eventually it'll be like nothing to go into Cal and IUP to play for these kids. So it'll be fun. Yeah,
the experience part of it's really important. You know, we looked at it, and, you know, we've been doing recruiting this entire time. And, you know, even next year, Alex, to be honest with you, you know, I think, you know, potentially we'll have 2 or 3 seniors on the field next year for us. So there's a lot of freshmen. We didn't redshirt hardly any except for a couple, and a ton of redshirt freshmen out there and sophomores playing. So it's a good experience for them. You know, how you have to bounce back from a really good Cal football team and come back and be ready to play against IUP. It's nerve-wracking as a coach to sit there and watch it happen, but you've got to be able to teach the life lessons out of these certain circumstances. And, you know, self-destruction is a little bit of our issue right now, especially in the offensive side of the ball, because we're moving the ball between the 20s and we're not scoring in the red zone except for if it's a big play. And those are things that are going to come with time. We've got to do a good job of coaching these kids and executing a little bit more and not getting the false starts and, you know, handling our business on defense and tackling. So, you know, it is what it is. We've moved on from it. We're on to Clarion now.
And the reality is you'd rather it be self-induced because that's something you can work with as a coach. But you said something, I think it was as we were leaving last week, that I really started to think about, and it was Dorian Jones. He's been playing cornerback because of injuries, so he was unable to play his original safety position, and he's been great at it. In addition to that, what you called a blessing in disguise, does that affect, I guess, your front seven is my question, because I can see how that would kind of stretch out your defense and limit what you can do up front, not having what you want in the secondary.
Well, I think anytime you start moving people to different positions, you have to limit from a schematic standpoint what you do, just so it makes sense and you don't put that kid in an uncomfortable situation where he doesn't know where he's supposed to be. And that does affect the other 10 players on the field. To potentially, we may have to be a little bit more vanilla for what we do as opposed to more complex. But Dorian's went in there, you know, he's a 6'2" corner basically now, where he was playing safety behind Christian Carpenter and still getting his time because he's an athletic kid. But he's still learning because he didn't start at corner this year. So he's been getting, you know, he's learning on the run a little bit, and you know, he's done a great job for us. But yeah, it's an issue when we get some injuries and have to move some people around, just because you have to be a little bit more vanilla with what you do. But no, it's still from a standpoint we have to execute. We don't want to lean on that and use it as a crutch of why we're not being successful. He's young. He's a freshman. It's just like the other,
awesome.
Loopy Coles is a freshman too. He was starting a corner at the Edinburgh game who's been out with an injury. And, we're just relatively young, so we couldn't advance from a schematic standpoint anyway. We need to get them good at the basic part of it, the technique part of it. But I'm proud of the way the kid's gone in there and competing. And that's what you want to see. How are they going to bounce back after this game on last Saturday? 2 weeks ago, how we played at Cal was good, but we didn't bounce back well. Well, let's see where we're at right now when we're 4-5 and we're fighting to get a winning season now.
Gannon Golden Knights head football coach Brad Rzyczycki, and you'll be at Clarion this weekend. Clarion is a tough team. They're not Cal IUP, but they've been steadily improving over the last couple of years, it seems. Yeah,
they've been competitive in every game they've played this year. They haven't had their games where, I think besides Edinburgh, that someone's went down there and really, handed them the game in the first half. But they've been competitive against IUP, Cal, all those games. I think they were winning the Cal game in the second half and the IUP game. Played Seton Hill. We follow Clarion, so they play whoever we play before we play them, if that makes any sense. So we get to see them the week after all the time all season. So they're good. They've dealt with some injuries. I mean, their quarterback was a really good one last year, 10, and he was out for the majority of the season. Came back last week and they beat Slippery Rock at home, and he had a lot to do with that. I mean, the kid's a competitor, and he really stepped into his own last year. I think he's a really good quarterback. Does a great job with their RPO stuff on offense, and they've got two skilled kids in number 7 and number 8 that just jump up and catch the ball. So they're talented, and they can beat anybody on any given Saturday. So we're going to have our work cut out for us traveling down there on Saturday.
And this season's far from lost. I mean, you get a win against Clarion, move on, another win, that's a winning season. So what is the difference in your mind between 6-5 and a losing season or 500?
A lot, because the culture change that we've created the last 3 years of having winning seasons is something that we've tried to drive home with these kids. So there's something definitely to play for on Saturday. We want to be 6-5. We want to have that winning record, and it's got to start this weekend. So we've got to go play well. It means something to the kids too. None of those kids on the field right now have ever went through a losing season. So it means something. We've had a great week of practice to this point, and I expect our kids to go down there and play hard.
I wanted to ask you this. Is there a point in the season, in your mind, different coaches seem to have different philosophies on this, where guys who were freshmen throughout the year aren't freshmen anymore? Past that point?
It depends on what scheme you're seeing. Some of it, if you say it's a corner and you're facing a team that throws the ball all over the place, well, you can kind of survive from a physical standpoint. But when you start making your corners have to tackle and they haven't been through a year in the weight room, that takes its toll on us. And that's something IUP did. They closed the corner up and made our corners tackle. And that could beat a kid up, if he's not ready physically to be out on the field because he hasn't had a year in our weight room program. So it depends on the scheme, to be honest with you, Alex. But yeah, our kids are more experienced. The problem is when we get injuries, we're sticking a new freshman out on the field that's going out there for the first time, like a Dorian or somebody else that we've talked about. Jacardi Brooks had a big game for us on Saturday. He's a true freshman, our ex-receiver. Some of those things happen because Eli Quinter got hurt, and they're good things. But you're going to deal with those young mistakes that those kids make. But, again, I don't want to use that as a crutch because I think those kids are talented enough to go out there and win football games. So, yeah, it's great to get the experience part of it. It's only going to help us in the future.
No doubt. He is the head coach of the Gannon Golden Knights, Brad Rzyczycki. Clarion coming up. Good luck to you on that. Hey, like I said, there's a big difference between 6-5, a losing season, or 500. So I like what the team has done throughout this year, and I trust that you'll have their head in the right place going into Clarion these remaining 2 games.
That's the goal. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, thank you.